We've crossed 500 subscribers, and the journey doesn't stop here. Thank you for staying, for listening, and for supporting this channel. If you're new here, welcome to our growing Twilight family. And if you've been here since the beginning, this story is for you. Tonight, we continue with another what if that pushes the Twilight world even further. So sit back, plug in your headphones, and let the story begin. I was stuck in my room with Alice, having our so-called bridal shower, which she insisted I must have, since it's one of the human experiences that I shouldn't miss. Or so she thought. Although bridal showers are supposed to have lots of girls involved, with guys popping out from the inside of big cakes, Alice knew how ballistic I would be with these kinds of events, so she unhappily downgraded this shower into a slumber party-like night. Does Edward know about this? I asked her, smugly. Oh, of course not. She said, the groom should stay out of bridal showers, you know, and you know Edward. He'll surely peek here for sure once he knew about this, she went on while looking at the many photos of men from a Playgirl magazine that she brought as an alternative for the real ones. I don't know what to do with her. And how can you be so sure that he's not outside right now, peeking in my window? Or worse, peeking at your thoughts? I should make her stop this, no matter how Charlie approves to this thing. I know he's making a lot of desperate actions to make me change my mind. He and Renee's lack of opposition in this marriage gives me the chills. I know they're just afraid to voice their complaints that might get on my nerves. Oh, that's impossible. Alice finally closed the magazine in her hands. I made Emmett and Jasper have his stag party at home. Stag pee party. Blood rushed through my face the minute that my mind processed what Alice had told me. My heart beat like I was having an over-exaggerated palpitation. I know Jasper will behave properly, but I was worried more about Emmett. Surely that guy knows how to party. Alice saw through me, and smiled. Oh, are you jealous, Bella? Want me to fetch these guys for you now? She taps the magazine in her hand. It's not too late to change your mind. Of course not. Why should I? Let that guy have his fantasies earlier, 'cause once we get married and tries to cheat on me, I'll make sure that I'll be the first vampire that he'll be afraid to see forever in his life. I said this with heavy breathing. I can't even think about all those vampire girls that Emmett might have brought. The same girls in Tanya's home. I'll give Emmett a nice poke in the head once I see him, as if that will affect him. Wait till I became a vampire. Alice laughed so much that she looked like an uncanny laughing ballerina doll. She seemed very amused at teasing me. I put a face on her while she laughed, and my eyes darted to the crescent scar that James left on me that day. And the question that erupted on me while I was studying biology out of boredom came back to me again. Alice, I have a question. Not. She stopped laughing as she sensed the seriousness in my question, and eyed me curiously, waiting for me to go on. I took a deep breath and went on. I am just curious. Can I really still be a vampire? I mean, you know, after James had bitten me and after Edward sucked out the venom in me. Does it ever cross your mind that I might be immune to the venom now? She thought over my question for a moment. Don't be silly, Bella. Vampires' venom doesn't apply like that. Well, I don't think it applies like that. She was speaking more to herself. I will not give up, of course. Well, think about it, I went on. Do you know anyone besides me who experienced the sucking out the venom thing and lived? Look at my hand, the scar, it's so pale and shining, also sparks rainbows whenever I put it under the sun. It only means that some venom is still in me, no matter how little the amount may be. But it's as if I still feel human. Nothing different whatsoever, as if that's just it. I was bitten, no big deal. I finally said the words that I was thinking for a while now. Oddly, she looked at me curiously, as if processing something of the past. Finally she spoke very seriously. Okay, fine Bella, I guess I can finally tell you this, she said to me. I wasn't supposed to say this to you. I felt suddenly nervous. Alice had been keeping a secret from me. Whatever it is, she was finally gonna tell me now. Remember the night when we were at the Volturi? Have you ever wondered what Arrow saw when he touched me? Why he was suddenly very enthusiastic about letting us go? I thought for a moment. I did become curious, but I knew that what Arrow saw there was just me becoming one of them. So what? Not really, I finally said. She became quiet for a moment and went on. You will become one of us, Bella. Surely, you'll become a vampire. But not really a vampire. You're more than that, she said, very seriously. I felt the chill up my spine as I heard this. More than that. What did she mean by more than that? She went on before I could ask. When a person becomes a vampire, certain qualities of your human personality die. But some become stronger. That is why some have special abilities, like Edward and me. You already know that, right? I nodded, waiting her to go on. And she did. Not. In your case, Bella, yours is special. Your ability to be unaffected by powers related to the inner mind will expand 1,000 times. Actually, it will become something else. You are very powerful, Bella. Once you become a vampire, you will not just be unaffected by the other's abilities, you can even use them. You can also protect other vampires against others' power too. I stiffened. What was she talking about? Me, a powerful vampire. Was she serious? But she still went on. Arrow should be very afraid of you, Bella. He should have killed you because of that. You know, kill the monster's baby before it matures. But another ability of yours gave him enough curiosity to spare you. What a ability, Alice. My heart was pounding very loudly now. This was too much for me to handle, yet I couldn't stop myself from knowing more. You being nauseated in blood. You'll also bring that in your next life. You will be a vampire who doesn't need blood for survival, Bella. Something every vampire will kill to have. Something Carlyle wishes too, something I wish too. She looked at her feet. I felt numb. I wanted to speak, to rebut that I can't be this great vampire she's telling me. I mean, how can that be? But I found my voice. And asked the question which I feared the answer for. So why did Arrow let me live then? Why is he excited? I asked, nervously. Alice eyed my wolf bracelet Jacob gave me, and took a deep breath, standing up. We have to see Sam Yulee. What does Sam have to do with this? Or maybe, what do the werewolves have to do with this? I stood up and followed her to the door. We went straight to the kitchen. Alice slumped to her favorite chair and looked at me. She mouthed the words "call him," pointing to the phone. I reached for the phone and dialed the number to the Clearwaters. Seth is the only remaining werewolf who's still fond of me since Jacob's flight. Hello. An enthusiastic voice came out from the receiver. Hi, Seth. Bella. How are you? It's been a while. How's Charlie? Edward. They're in great shape. Seth. Then I hesitated. Any news about Jacob? Every now and then. I always wanted to know what Jacob had been doing, where he was, how he was. I didn't know why, but I felt a deep depression whenever I thought about Jacob. I was heartbroken. I wanted to sulk too, but I didn't know why. I tried to stop thinking about Jacob, and contented myself on asking Seth. Seth was the only person with whom I could confirm things about Jacob. Still sulking in the northern Canada, Seth said grimly. He's been in his wolf form for a week now. I was quiet for a moment. Surely, Jacob was in pain. I felt stupid and useless for being here having bridal showers while he was there enduring agony. I wanted to give him company, but then I remembered that I was actually the reason why he was there in the first place. Anything I can do? I asked for the nth time already this week. No, Bella. Billy insisted on letting him be. He's dealing. It's hard to oppose the nature, you know. I was about to ask him what he meant about Jacob, opposing the nature, when I caught Alice's eyes. She looked impatient already and I suddenly remembered why I called. Seth, listen, can you do me a favor? Can you contact Sam Yulee for me? I want to meet him at the border right now. Alice is with me. Better warn him earlier than surprise him when I bring Alice along. I don't want to deal with another Paul tantrum today. Not now. Oh Sir Bella, I'll be in my wolf form first, then I'll call you for confirmation. Okay then. He hung up. I went to sit next to Alice and let my curiosity and nervousness deal with her. Why do we have to talk to Sam, Alice? I demanded. Not. She's gazing absent-mindedly on the wall. She pointed at my wolf charm without a word. I looked at the bracelet at once. Seriously, Alice, I am getting mad. Nothing of this makes sense. I felt really stupid now. Every minute I felt as if I was not grasping anything that can explain all of this. And she wasn't helping at all. She faced me apologetically. I don't know either, Bella, she said. I have a hunch though, that bracelet of yours is something. I can feel that it has something to do with you becoming a super vampire thingy. What can a brace? I was cut off by the phone. I picked it up eagerly. Hey, Seth. Sam says he'll meet you at the border, but only if you're alone. Seth spoke as if he just went into a debate and lost. Oh, I gave Alice a minor probing look and went on. Okay, what time? Oh, right now, he chuckled. I was driving Alice's yellow Porsche. She was not surprised when I told her about Sam's condition, but she insisted that I use her car so that she can have revenge by letting Sam sniff all the vampire scent that's in it. Surely, Sam will go berserk. I told her that I didn't even know why I should meet him, but she said that that won't be a problem. I sometimes suspected that Alice might have been bluffing about not seeing the wolves in her future visions, considering how accurate her hunches are. I finally arrived at the borderline and saw a figure waiting at the center. Sam broadened again. He looked more handsome than before, but his grim features still made him less seductive. I sighed and went to meet him. Hi, I finally said, waving at him. I felt awkward with him, knowing that he hated me after all the mess I did. He saw my bracelet and his eyes widened in shock. Who gave you that? He inquired viciously. I was surprised by his reaction. I quickly tried to hide what he was pointing at, but he swiftly held my hand back very hard but gently. He eyed the wolf figurine on it and asked again. Who gave you this? Jacob, I finally blurted out. He eyed me very curiously, but finally he let go of my hand. He turned his back to me. He gave you his Makata. He muttered. He's really an idiot. His Makata. I held the bracelet up to my eyes. The handcrafted wolf figurine still amazed me. I held it defensively, scared that Sam might steal it from me. Not. Yeah, a Makata. Werewolves only give that to their special someone. Their imprinted one. How can Jacob give his to you? I was shocked. Imprinted ones. What did that mean? Jacob imprinted on me. But Jacob didn't imprint on me, I said, my knees starting to shake. Yeah, I know that. Surely I'll be the one to know that, of course. His voice gave away his irritation. But that's not the point. Imprinted or not, once a werewolf gives that to a person, that werewolf marks that person as his half-self. A part of him. That is why it is only given to those who the werewolves imprinted on, because they knew that they'll be together till the end. He paused. He eyed me cautiously. I met his gaze, confused. A part of him, Bella. Do you understand? You are like him now. You can do what he can do. You feel what he feels. You're like his werewolf counterpart, but the thing is you don't change into a monster. But I don't feel, and then realization struck me. So that explained everything. The reason why I felt depressed whenever I thought about Jacob. I was not the one depressed, he was. Sam took a step toward me and I backed away immediately, a little scared of him. Don't be afraid, he said. I won't do you any harm, or will I take that bracelet back? I can't do anything about it now. He already wholeheartedly gave that to you. I just want you take good care of it. I beg you. This was the first time I had heard Sam beg. I always sensed majesty in his voice, but now. Of course I will, I said, and he seemed convinced. Bella, you are the closest thing to Jacob right now. You are a part of him. You can feel him. You can comfort him even in the distance. Just think about him being with you and he'll feel you there. I stood there for a moment. I felt my eyes starting to build up tears. Is that how Jacob loved me? To entrust this thing on me. To entrust his feelings to me. I didn't deserve this. You don't have to love him. I am not asking you that. I knew how great your love is for that bloodsucker, but at least take good care of Jacob as your friend. Really, what was he thinking giving you that? I wanted to cry. I was shocked from the things I learned from today. A different vampire, and now a wolf counterpart. Wait, Sam, I said before I could stop myself. Does that mean I am a werewolf now? Sam laughed. No, of course not, Bella. You don't have werewolf blood. What you have is werewolf abilities. The same Jacob has. It is mirrored in you permanently. It is now magically imprinted in your blood. You will have that forever as if you were born with it. You are a part of him, remember. But you are not him. Not. I eyed the bracelet for a moment, thinking about Jacob. I loved him, but I loved Edward more. I couldn't live without Edward, but it would be unfair to him if I loved Jacob too. I should change this love into a friendly one before I mess things up again. So, how did it go? Alice asked me, as soon as we got back to my room. I took a deep breath before I spoke. He told me that Jacob gave his Makata to me. I touched the bracelet again. Makata? She asked, confused. Then I told her everything that Sam told me at the borderline. I told you. She seemed enlightened now from a problem that had been bothering her for a long time. That bracelet is something. No wonder you are powerful, Bella. You have wolf abilities now and it can expand to 1,000 times once you. She stopped, gasping. She closed her eyes and I knew what was happening right away. What do you? Before I could finish, she opened her eyes in horror. Jane. She looked at me. She's coming with keys. Quick, Bella, there isn't any time. Alice told me, and when I came to her, without further ado she swiftly put me on her back and immediately dashed outside my house. Next thing I knew, we were speeding through the forest. Trees blurred past us as she ran fast. Edward was right, Alice's speed was quite extraordinary. Damn, why could this happen today? I sent Carlisle, Esme and Rosalie on a hunting trip so that Edward could have his stag party at home. She retorted. Her pace was increasing as the time went by. I knew it was just seconds since we left Charlie's house, but I didn't know how deep we were now inside the forest. It was obvious that we're heading towards their home. She held me on her back supported by her left arm, whilst her right hand grabbed her cell phone from her shirt pocket. Hello, Carlisle, it's me, Alice, she said into her cell phone. This was the first time I had ever heard panic in her voice, and that gave me a reason to feel very terrified. Whatever she saw back there in the house with Jane in it had panicked her. I couldn't imagine how terrible it might be. Keys and company are on their way now, and they are extremely fast. They'll get here as soon as. But I didn't hear her next words as we suddenly stopped. No, wait, everything stopped. Falling leaves that were supposed to fall remained in midair. Birds hung up above us like they were just glued there in the air. Alice was very still as a statue, her cell phone still pressed to her ears, but she wasn't not talking anymore. Clearly, time had stopped, but I wasn't included in it. Alice, I cried, panic overflowing in my chest. Alice, I shouted again, and again, but I knew that no matter how loud my voice was, she couldn't hear me. Then, at that moment, chuckles came from behind my back. I had heard their laugh before. The same baby-like chuckles I heard last from Volterra. I slowly turned my head, and my eyes widened in terror at the waiting scene. The group of the Volturi was less than the last time they were here. But this time, instead of a large group of servants, the group now was mostly composed of the highest-ranking vampires in the vampire royal family. There were 5 of them. Alex's hand was raised towards us, snickering with Jane, who was at his side clearly praising the good work of her lover. A tall, muscular guy the first recognized immediately as Dmitri was at the far back. But the other 2 were the ones who gave me the true horror that engulfed my chest so much. The first one, a tall beautiful girl with very purple eyes, wore a black tube dress as well as an expression of full interest just like the last time I saw her during my visit at Volterra. Heidi hadn't changed so much. She was still as beautiful as before. As my eyes drifted then to the person next to her, who gave me goosebumps that I never felt before. Clearly, for him to need to leave their den, this excursion of theirs might be really important. Keyes was the first one to break the silence. Not, that was great, Alec. Good timing, he said, your ability to stop time really overpowers everything. Alex seemed very flattered at this praise. He and Jane laughed so angelically that they looked like babies from a cute commercial. But my heart was still pounding. Bella, such a surprise to see you still human. Jane here told me very interesting news once she came back from the mess that, I heard, Carlisle's coven had cleaned for us. I am here to personally thank them. I hated my lips for trembling. Alex's power was extreme. He can stop time. I had never thought vampire venom can go as far as stopping time. I had so much more to learn. But this wasn't the time for vampire lessons. I was currently facing a great danger that could take me away from Edward. I felt a sudden hollow in my chest and stomach. By the way, Bella, I didn't come here for chit-chat, Keyes said. This is it, I thought. I certainly know that Carlisle is on his way right now, and if it wasn't for Alex's marvelous ability, he would have been here already. He smirked, nodding approvingly to Alec. Alec chuckled again. I should do this thing as fast as I can. I don't plan on waiting any longer. We've done our waiting long enough, because your stubborn boyfriend didn't do his part on the bargain. He smiled and looked to his right. Heidi, he said. Heidi raised her hand towards me, and at that moment, I was detached from Alice's body and fell towards the ground. I started to feel numb. Something cold crept from my head and slowly to my feet. I felt dizzy. My eyesight became a blur for a moment and then came back again. And then that was it. I couldn't feel my body anymore. My hands, my feet, I couldn't move them, but I could still see. But I had no control whatsoever over any part of my body, as if I was paralyzed. I heard Heidi speak. I now have her under my full control, Keys. Heidi looked at me and I saw her eyes gleam. Then suddenly, out of my will, I stood up, gracefully. I was shocked because my body didn't give any hint that it was controlled by another being. It was as if I was still the one doing the action. I heard myself speak, "Oh dear Keys, I was waiting for you for a while now. I am ready to join your family." I felt real horror as I heard these words coming from my mouth. This was not happening. Keys laughed. "Marvelous, Heidi," he said, whilst laughing. "No wonder you are the best in fishing. Your method is certainly wonderful." "Oh dear Keys, certainly piece of cake." She laughed. Keys eyed me for a moment, his eyes fixed against mine. "Her nullification ability really didn't handle your power, you guessed right. You were really something, Heidi," Keys said. I saw Jane slumped in the grass, lips pouted. She looked like a child that didn't get her candy, obviously still sulking over the fact that she had no power over me. "Oh, don't be too happy, dear Keys," Heidi said, reprovingly. "I can only control her physical body, and whilst I guarantee you that I can control everything from it, her mind is still intact, not untouched. If your guess is correct, Master, that only abilities concerning the mind can be repelled by her, then it is still a big problem. That is not good, Your Highness." "Oh, don't worry about that," Keys said, and then he looked at me. "What did you say again, Bella?" he said, glancing at Heidi, who then looked at me. My mouth opened again, and my voice really sounded very enthusiastic. "I said that I am ready to join your family." I was really beginning to feel sick. I didn't like what was happening and where we were heading. This was not good, this was not good. "Oh, okay then, Bella. Of course you can. Welcome." Keys laughed very loudly. "Heidi, make her one of us now, immediately. We don't want our new princess to be deprived of what she wants." Heidi swooped towards me, her grace comparable to a model walking in a runway show. Her lips gave way to what I imagined to be her fangs. "No." Then suddenly, I heard a voice from my head. A voice so familiar that I was so relieved to hear. "Bella, Bella, this is me, Jacob. What's happening to you? Where are you?" Heidi stopped from where she was, and her eyes darted from my left hand. I followed her gaze. From my left wrist, I saw that the wolf figurine was glowing, white light emanating from it. Jacob could hear me. "Jacob, Jacob, help me. Alert Edward, please." "Why? Where are you, Bella? What's that?" I heard Keys bellow. He was also pointing at the now blazing wolf bracelet. Quickly, Heidi tried to grab my wrist and take the wolf bracelet from me. But the bracelet didn't budge. Instead, the diamond, the one Edward had given me, was the one removed from my hand. It fell to the grass. The light coming from the wolf figurine burned Heidi's hand, and she screamed, backing away. "My diamond bracelet. Bella, I am coming. Bite her quickly. I can smell the wolves already." Keys screamed. And then suddenly, I felt fangs pierce my neck. As soon as they did, the burning sensation started. I couldn't scream, but my mind could. "Not. Quadruple A arg HHHHHHHHHHH." And then I heard Jacob scream as well. "Quadruple A erg." "Bella, what's happening?" Out of nowhere, I heard wolves scream in agony. Evidently, my pain, Jacob's pain, was also the pain of the whole pack. Then my thoughts started to whirl. I saw myself when I was still a kinder. My friend Toby had started laughing at me when I tripped over the chair. Now, I was in 5th grade. Charlie had taken me to California for a change. I could see the sun blizzard from the sky. Suddenly, I was in my room crying. The pain of me learning that Renee had decided to marry Phil came back to me again. Now I was crying at my old room at Charlie's house, remembering how good Phoenix was. Then I saw Edward, his smile, his lips touching mine, the feeling of his chest. The way we danced during that dreadful prom. When I saw him again at Italy. How he proposed to me. How delighted he was when I said, yes. How he said that he would be the one to change me. All those things were starting to fade as I grasped for consciousness. My eyes were dry but my mind was flooding with tears as realization hit me. I was going to be taken to Volterra. I would be taken away from my future family. I would be taken from Edward forever. And this pain, this particular pain that didn't have anything to do with the pain coming from the venom that was now enveloping my whole body, went straight to my mind, body and soul. It was the most painful thing that I had ever felt. And I screamed the loudest I had ever screamed. Edward Cullen. My heart was pounding. It was her scream. I knew it. I wasn't wrong. Edward, are you all right? I was in my room. Emmett was staring at me. His worried face could be seen through the dancing light coming from the disco ball. Did you hear that? I asked, looking at him seriously. I grasped the seat of my chair. I knew her voice so well. I wasn't wrong. I heard nothing, bro, Emmett answered, confusedly, but he may have misinterpreted my question and anxiety because he suddenly laughed and grinned at me. Hey, man, don't be that excited. Those vampire girls will come. Just be extra patient, okay? He said, and then he laughed again. Clearly, he was still talking about this stupid stag party of mine. Vampire girls. There was only one woman in my heart and they could never ever replace her. Balloons were in every corner of my room. Disco lights that Emmett had temporarily installed gave life to my boring room. But all of this didn't matter as the horror that was swelling up in my chest got deeper and deeper. The most important person in my life was in danger. I stood up at once. The terror that I was feeling worsened as the seconds went by. What? Emmett asked. His anxious face returned. There is something wrong, Emmett. Bella's in danger. I know it, I said, grabbing both his arms as I spoke. I was shaking, but I couldn't help it. Emmett stared at me for a moment and then he said calmly, Edward, don't worry. She's with Alice having their own party. She's safe in her house. But after a moment, his face suddenly became serious and his face scrunched as he said, oh, sheep. Now you've done it. Alice will surely kill me for telling. Then the phone rang. Emmett and I stared at each other for a moment. His eyes narrowed as he read my troubled face, before he went and picked up the phone. Hello. Oh, Carlisle. How's the Emmett paused. He was silent for a moment and then he looked at me, horrified. He didn't need to say a word for me to know what gave him the fright. Not. I heard it plainly. I heard straight from his head. The confirmation of the horror that I desperately wished was not true. I didn't have time to stand there any longer. Bella was indeed in danger. I ran as fast as I could, not waiting for Emmett to hang up. In a fraction of a second, I was outside already, trees passing by me in a flash. I heard wolves' cries everywhere. I didn't know why they acted like this, but surely, it had to do with a loss, maybe Bella's disappearance. Bella, oh Bella, how could I leave you for a second? I thought. My heart blamed myself, and I knew it was my fault. I should have been with her every second, every minute of her life. I promised her that. I felt like an idiot for not watching her during this stupid stag party. I could smell Alice already. She wasn't that far now. I didn't take any longer because I saw her in an instant as I ran through a curve in the forest. She was slumped in the grass. Her eyes were blank and her face reflected her shock. Carlisle, Esme and Rosalie were also there. Carlisle was already kneeling in front of Alice, his hands on both cheeks. Alice, it wasn't your fault, I heard Carlisle mumble. I scanned Alice's mind, but it wasn't necessary as she blurted out the words I was looking for anyway. No, Carlisle, it's my fault. I shouldn't have thrown this party at all. As we were speeding our way here, I don't know why, I don't know how I'm so confused, Carlisle. One moment she's there and then she's gone. And then those dogs started to scream and she paused for breath. This is the only thing I found. She held a bracelet I recognized at once. It was the same thing that I had given to Bella. Soon as I saw the bracelet, my knees gave away. I let a horrible growl escape me as agony and pain came rushing to me at the same time. Edward, pull yourself together. Your panic will not do anything good, Carlisle said firmly, and then he looked behind me and said, Jasper, come closer. I whirled around to see Emmett and Jasper there. I had never noticed their arrival because my mind was only focused on figuring out the mystery behind Bella's disappearance. I felt helpless. It had been a very long time since I had like this. Go to the werewolves, Carlyle ordered Jasper, pulling me back from my horrible thoughts. See what is happening there. They're not far from here. Actually, this is the first time they have been this close to our part of the land. Jasper nodded. I'll come with you, Emmett offered, and the two of them were gone in a flash. Suddenly, my patience was gone. Carlyle, I bellowed. What do we do? I couldn't help but panic. With Bella's disappearance, and no minds to scan for information, I was losing it. Not. Calm down, Edward, Carlyle said. We're doing everything we can. Calm down, I repeated. We don't even know where to start. Calm down, son, Esme said. This was the first time she spoke, yet her uncertainty gave no relief whatsoever. I bit my lip. I couldn't let my temper show any further to Esme. She didn't deserve it, and besides, it wasn't her fault that Bella was in danger. It was my fault. Before I could blame myself any further, Jasper emerged from the trees. His face was shocked as he said, "Quick. Follow me." He didn't have to say it twice. The five of us ran to where he was pointing. It was less than 2 seconds before we arrived. At first, I didn't realize who was twitching and screaming in agony in the grass. But that awful stinking smell was unmistakable. I watched in shock to see Jacob Black screaming in pain. I quickly scanned his mind for the reason, but all I could see was pain. "Arg!" Jacob screamed. "It's burns." "No, this is not true," Carlyle whispered. "It can't be true." I noticed Carlyle was leaning towards Jacob, examining every part of him. I scanned Carlyle's mind to see what he was looking for. And I gasped. He was looking for bite marks. Then I recognized immediately the way Jacob twisted and turned in agony. His pain was not ordinary. This kind of pain could only be caused by vampire venom. Jacob had been bitten. Impossible. That couldn't have happened. No marks, Carlyle confirmed. His face was contorted in confusion. Surely, he cannot be suffering from a vampire bite. He's a werewolf, for heaven's sake. Jasper cried. But how can you explain his agony? Everyone was quiet for a moment. Suddenly, I heard a huge gasp. I whirled around quickly to see Alice's hand on her mouth. She looked like she was about to vomit. It was not Jacob Black who's been bitten, Carlyle, Alice said finally, her eyes wide in horror. I had never seen her frightened like this before. That Makata must be the reason why Jacob. Wait, Makata. I searched Alice's mind, and then everything became clear. What I saw in her mind was Bella, explaining her trip to La Push to Alice. The Makata, Sam Yulee. My mind became blank for the first time in a century. This Makata gave a magical link to Jacob and not Bella. And if Jacob was experiencing pain caused by vampire venom but no bite marks, then the bite must belong to. It's burning. Take away the fire, please. Jacob screamed. This is not happening. Then who is it, Alice, who's been bitten? Carlyle demanded, his voice superior. Alice hesitated, and I didn't need to hear her answer to know what she was going to say. It's Bella, she answered finally. Bella has been bitten. I was already awake, but I didn't want to open my eyes. I wasn't ready to see the reality that awaited me. Besides, if I already was one of them, then this would definitely be my last sleep. I'd better enjoy every minute of it. I didn't feel any pain in my body now. Had it been 3 days since that unforgettable afternoon? I wondered what Alice's reaction was when she didn't find me on her back. I thought about Charlie too. He might already be worried sick and might have already informed Renee about my disappearance. Pondering these worries, I had automatically opened my eyes. Oh, good morning, Bella. Did you enjoy your sleep? I quickly sat up from the very comfortable bed that I was in, and looked around to see the owner of the voice. I gasped in shock. Marcus, one of the 3 kings of Volterra, was sitting beside my bed, cross-legged and hands together. He was looking at me as if I was meat. I wondered why he was eyeing me like that. The last time I saw him, I was in that dungeon with Edward and Alice, and he was so bored by us. He didn't even glance at me that time, not even once. But now, where am I? I asked him. I looked around. We were in a very beautiful room, but the only light source was from the yellow lights coming from the marvelous well-crafted ceiling. There was no sunlight. The flowers that were scattered around us looked like those from the funeral service. I guess I was in the depths of Volterra. Home, he said. His smile gave me the creeps. This is not my home, I said through gritted teeth, giving a slight emphasis on the last word. Nor will it ever be. He laughed. The sound coming from him was just like a whisper, and it scares me. After his laughing session, he went back to staring at me. It was getting on my nerves. Why the heck are you staring at me? I questioned. I couldn't help but shake in anger. One thing I hated the most was when people stared at me. He laughed again before he answered me. Well, Bella, I was just very interested in you, really. I mean, this is the first time that I have witnessed a transformation that took only 12 hours to complete. And the most intriguing part is that you woke without being wild, demanding for blood, which every newborn vampire usually does. Look at you. You're as cool as a cucumber. Not. I tried to give him a disgusting look, but all I could manage was a curious look. I did feel calm, and whenever I thought about blood, I still wanted to puke. Was I really a vampire now? I didn't want to ask this monster about anything, so I quickly changed the subject. So, what is your plan now, huh? I demanded, snarling. Planning to make me as your personal servant, I guess. Or a bodyguard like Felix and Dimitri. Or a fisher girl just like Heidi. Ha, in your dreams. He didn't seem to mind my ranting. He just looked at me with the same sickening interest that I was really starting to hate. Well, no, Bella. Certainly not. He shrugged. Seriously, how can you think that we'd put you in such low ranks when you were almost as powerful as us, Bella? You will become one of us, Bella. One of us, he said, and he smiled. There was a pause for a moment. Then as my temper flared, I leaned in towards him. I will never in my whole existence join you, I spat, with emphasis on every word. Marcus didn't back away or even move from his seat. He just looked at me. You have no choice. I eyed him for a moment. What do you mean? I asked. I had felt great panic for the past 24 hours, and I was feeling that panic again right now. Marcus tried to touch my hand, but I quickly dodged him. He smiled at my reaction. You still do not know my ability, do you? He asked, his face wide with a grin. They all have this impression that Arrow was the leader of this family, the highest king, the most powerful one. And I believe that you also thought the same. I didn't respond. Yeah, I thought that. I remembered that Arrow was the friendliest among them. No wait, friendly was not the word, but I guessed something like that. Marcus and Keyes gave me the impression that they were just working in the background while Arrow did the socializing part. My ability, Bella, is something you may never have imagined. You might not even have read this in your little fantasy books. What I can do, is that I can give a person another personality. Something which I prefer, one I have designed. And after I give that new personality to that person, I can take away the old one and lock it somewhere inside you that you will never ever find. I was trembling as I heard this. New personality. Something he preferred. I didn't understand. Arrow was my son, Bella. He looked at me and I gasped. His son. He was a cowardly, goody-goody boy who had no brains to even do simple arithmetic. I was an ambitious father. I wanted a son I could be proud of. Not. I was listening very hard. Usually, I couldn't breathe in this situation. But I guess I didn't need to breathe now that it didn't make any difference. Then one night, when he was 14, something attacked me in the middle of the night while I was bartering. And after that I became this, he said, looking at his own body. I discovered my ability during one of my hunting evenings. My victim, named Hendrik, was a middle-aged pot maker. I experimented with my ability and him, and hey, presto. He became my instant colleague. I made his personality to my liking. I wanted him to be brave and bearable, and he did. I made him as perfect as possible to be my friend. He didn't remember anything about his past, of course. I took away everything from him. So I changed his name and he became Keyes. I knew now what he's up to. I felt every emotion under the sun. Panic, stress, helplessness, terror, horror, sickness. Tears started to flood my face, and I was too scared to wipe them off. I'll be changed too. It's as if he didn't notice my terror because he still finished his story without glancing at me. So, after 30 years, I saw that my son, whose name was still James back then, still hadn't changed. I wanted to be a father to him. I wanted to correct him. I would make him the son that I wanted him to be. And that is how he became Arrow. He paused. But I wanted a daughter too, you know, he said. He stopped for a moment and slowly turned his face to me. I was horrified to see that his features had changed. He now possessed wide red blood eyes that looked like they would pop out of his eye socket. He suddenly had no lips nor teeth nor tongue. Just a deep hollow in his mouth. His face was so horrifying. Something you wished that would never appear in your nightmare. I started to moan as I backed away from him. I wanted to run. I took off from the bed and ran to the corner of the room. I was trapped. I felt panic arise where my heart used to be. This was much worse than when my heart was still pounding. He stood up and walked forward slowly, zombie-like, still possessing that horrifying face, eyes very wide. "Don't you dare," I threatened. I remembered about what Alice told me. I was powerful, right? I quickly tried to do something. I focused on his eyes, trying to imitate what Jane was doing. No effect. He was still coming. I started pounding on the wall, becoming increasingly more scared. "Help!" I screamed. I looked to Marcus again, and he was nearer now. I pounded harder on the wall. I know I can break this. I was powerful, I was still a newborn. I looked back again, and regretted it, as I was already face to face with him. Arg! My knees broke away and I cowered into the wall. "Please, oh please, stop now." But he still came nearer. He was so near now that his nose was already touching mine. Not Edward. And then everything went blank. Edward Cullen. I was lying on our bed. The bed that I had personally picked out for her. It had been a year since she had disappeared, and I was starting to lose hope. I wanted her back. "Now, isn't there anything we can do?" Alice asked, talking mostly to herself. I didn't care. I can't believe not one of us can remember what happened that day. "I know, Alice," Carlyle replied. "I am willing to bet my existence that someone wiped our memories, someone powerful. Even those wolves cannot recall what happened that afternoon. I've been trying to remember why I was in such a rush to get home that day. It was something you told me on the phone, but I just can't recall." "I know," Alice agreed. "I was running with Bella, but I can't remember why, and then suddenly, she was gone." They both grew silent, but I really didn't care what they were talking about. I had heard it for the nth time already, and no one did ever remember what made Alice and Bella to run here to the house. But no matter how many times they tried to recall what happened that day, how many times they recalled the same story that I heard again tonight, the fact that Bella disappeared would never change. To live every minute without her was hard for me. She is my air, my reason for existence, my soul. And to think about her every second, her scent, her smile, her look of disgust whenever I piss her off, her heartbeat, her eyes. I winced in pain as I thought about her. I wanted .no, I needed her love now. Her kiss, her caress. I didn't know what to do, I was insane already. My chest was so heavy, and my mind was so full of her. I wanted her, I needed her now. Someone approached me, and I looked up to see Carlyle staring down at me. "Go away." He ignored me. "Edward, son, I am not here telling you to go hunting, or stop sulking, or anything like that. I am just here to remind you that whatever you're doing right now, I am sure Bella wouldn't be happy." He stopped as he saw my furious glare. "Not. How would you know if she felt like that?" I demanded, fuming. He met my stare and held it for a moment. "She wouldn't want you to be unhappy." He tried again, but anger erupted inside of me. "You don't know what she thinks," I shouted. "She's missing, Carlyle. She's missing, and I don't know where to look for her." I didn't know why I was angry with him. I couldn't understand anything, let alone myself. It was just that I always thought he had a solution to everything. Him. From all the vampires I knew, he always knew what to do. But now, he just looked down. "Leave me alone, please," I finally blurted out. "Edward," he tried to speak, but I interrupted him again. I didn't want to fight, but I was tired. "Leave me alone," I repeated. Carlyle looked at me hopefully, before sighing. He walked out the door and out of sight. I felt guilty after that. Poor Carlyle. I would make it up to him. I sat down to the bed and sighed deeply. I decided that I'd go to our meadow the day after tomorrow. I knew that I am just making things harder for myself, but I just wanted to remember her. I wanted to cling to every memory I have of her. This was the only way I could live, and I hoped that someday, she will come back to me, and we would again be in each other's arms. The thought of her embrace only made me succumb to further pain. I missed her so much. Oh, please Gianna, I pleaded. Just this once, I just want to see the parade. We were in the main lobby of my home, the underground of Volterra. You know that's impossible, you're high, but I gave her a meaningful look and she sighed. As my best friend, there was no need for titles. Fine, Laika, she complied. But you know what Master Marcus told us? We're not allowed to go up. It's too risky, we might get exposed and that will be the end of us. I sighed and I let myself slump on the couch beside her desk, lips pouting. I was never allowed to explore the things that I was curious about, since the day that I had woken up. You know, one of the very hard things about not remembering anything about your past is that you feel stupid. I was sick of just asking what's this or what's that, when I could just go up there and see for myself. I looked at my left wrist. The bracelet with the wolf figurine is the only thing that I had when I woke up that day, and I was hoping that it would help me remember everything of my past. Marcus told me that my name was Arya and that I was his adopted daughter. He was very strict to me and uncaring, as if I was a soldier, so even though he's my adoptive father, I have never learned to like him. On the other hand, Arrow spoils me a lot, saying that I am their only princess in their household. Looking at it, I should be contented about my life now. But I can't help about wondering about my past. Looking at my bracelet, I imagined maybe I was a wolf princess or something. I knew this is too far-fetched, but living underground without ever going outside has certainly boosted my imagination. So I decided to name myself Laika since it sounded wolfish enough to come from a tribe. I knew it sounded ridiculous, childish and absurd, but I still liked the idea. At least I still had a made-up past that I could cling on to. I didn't like the name Arya since I felt like I belonged to Marcus if I accepted that ridiculous name. I was happy that Gianna complied with my fantasies. Gianna looked at me apologetically from her desk. I'm sorry I can't do anything, she said. You know that it's just been a year since I became a vampire, and I still have no control of my blood cravings unlike you. She eyed me wistfully. Ew, blood. I still didn't understand how they all managed to enjoy drinking that stuff. I know I'm a vampire, but still, no matter what Marcus says, I won't drink blood. The thought alone made me puke. That's the point. You're a vampire, she retorted. You know, I am starting to believe that you might not really be a vampire. You might be a wolf princess after all. I laughed at the last comment. Oh, I am fine, I said between laughs. I don't need any kind of food to survive. I am as strong as an elephant. Not. You're a million times stronger than that, Gianna added, and she looked quite defeated. I smiled. At that moment, Jane appeared from the corner and bowed to me. I knew Jane hated me for some reason, but I didn't care because I hated her as well. I had hated her angelic face from the start, knowing she was far from being an angel. What's funny, Arya? Jane asked, irritated. She knew that she was the cause of my sudden burst of giggles. I raised an eyebrow. Call me Laika, Jane, and well, it's nothing. It's just that it's kind of weird seeing you without your darling, Alec. I said, trying to look amused. It's none of your business, Your Highness, Jane said through gritted teeth. I ignored her. I loved teasing Jane. It's my favorite hobby. Say, Jane, I said happily, care for diapers? I'll buy some for you. Jane's face became contorted, and I felt goosebumps in my arms and legs. She was trying it again. My face remained smooth. I really wanted her to feel the pain she made her victims feel. And then she started screaming in pain, but I immediately stopped. It wasn't my thing to enjoy other people's pain. Next time, I warned, smiling the friendliest I could, choose the person that you plan to torture carefully, because you might find yourself the one being tortured. And I stormed away, enjoying another day of triumph. I walked through the royal corridor. I was already going to my room when I heard people talking from one of the other rooms. I thought this corridor is for the royals only, I thought. Curious, I peeked into that room with the voices to see who were there. It was Felix and Dimitri, and they were talking about something. I leaned in to eavesdrop. Yes, Forks is a dangerous place already for us now, Dimitri said. Since those wolves appeared, my mind raced. Wolves, he said. Yeah, I heard they slaughtered a lot of newborn vampires there a couple of months ago, Felix agreed. Let them try us. Let's see if they could last in 15 minutes, Dmitri guffawed. Not. I looked at my bracelet, and decided to show myself to them. Wherever Forks is, I needed to go there. Hi boys, I said. The two vampires looked at me, shocked. They quickly bowed to me. Your Highness, they chorused. I drew out my hand so that Dmitri could kiss it. I usually didn't like this kind of royal manner, and they knew it, but I have a purpose this time. Dmitri looked at me questioningly at first and then he took my hand and kissed it. As he touched my hand, I quickly mimicked Arrow's ability. Dmitri's thoughts washed over me like a wild river. I searched for the way to Forks, and found it. I scanned through the place, intrigued. Forks was magnificent. There was a meadow, I guess. But it was stunningly beautiful. If I was going outside, this place was worth the first visit. I quickly opened my eyes and let go of Dmitri. I saw that he was looking at me suspiciously. Was I that obvious? I quickly distracted him with a question. What are you two doing in this room? I questioned, managing some majesty in my voice. You both know that the rooms in this corridor are strictly for royals only. Sorry, Your Highness, they chorused and bowed again. Go now, I ordered. They scurried away immediately, and I was left alone in that room, excitement brewing behind my calmness. Wolves. There were wolves in Forks. I must see them, I must meet them. I eyed my wolf bracelet and grasped it excitedly. I decided that I would go to Forks, to that meadow, as soon as possible. I left the room quickly, planning my great escape. I opened the door of my room and quickly went inside. My room was very spacious and had lots of furniture in it. A big cabinet stood in the far corner of the room. Beside it was a desk with a big mirror hanging on the wall and king-size Victorian four-poster bed was in the center of the room. Gianna had said that I was the only vampire in the house who has a bed because of the fact that I am also the only vampire who needed to sleep. I wasn't surprised by this. I didn't hunt like the others, I got all my strength from sleeping. I strode towards the mirror to look at myself, and a beautiful girl stared back at me. I really looked like a princess. My magnificent mahogany hair flowed flawlessly down to my shoulders, and my white glowing skin matched my perfect pinkish-red lips. The beautiful white dress that I was wearing was like the one that those princesses from the fairy tales used. My looks were almost perfect, except that my eyes were too black, empty and lifeless. I sighed. I hated being a vampire. I knew I was very beautiful and all, but so what? No big deal. I went to my bed and curled into a ball. I will definitely go to Forks tomorrow, I murmured to myself. And then I closed my eyes. I was in a very dark place. I couldn't see anything. Weird, I thought to myself. Hello, I shouted through the nothingness. My voice echoed, but no one responded. I walked but found darkness. The feeling of being trapped and lonely overwhelmed me, and I started to feel afraid. I stopped walking and I knelt down, putting my hands on my face. Where am I? Then suddenly I heard a low sob. I immediately looked up and saw a girl sitting just inches from where I was, her back to me. Her hair was mahogany just like mine, and she was wearing a damp sweatshirt and tight jeans. Where did she come from? Hey, I said to her, but she continued to sob. A human. Are you all right? I won't hurt you, don't worry. I don't harm humans. I was about to reach out to her when she started to speak. Edward, help me please, she murmured between sobs. Edward, I assumed it was her brother. Come now, don't you cry there, we'll find your brother. I was surprised that my voice suddenly sounded very soothing. The girl slowly turned her head to me. I prepared myself to welcome her with a comforting smile. But I was very shocked. The girl was me. She stared at me, and I stared back. This version of me had wide chocolate brown eyes in contrast to my deep black ones. She looked at me pleadingly. Please, she pleaded. Please help me. I couldn't speak. Why on earth was I asking myself for help? Not, why? What happened to you? I started to ask. It was weird, but no matter how much she looked like me, she was a completely different person. I slowly walked towards her, and reached out my hand to touch hers to make her feel that everything would be alright. But then, I woke up with a start. Gianna was leaning towards me, her face very anxious. What? I managed to ask between yawns. I was just passing the corridor when I saw white light coming from your room. I peeked in to see if you're okay, Gianna explained. White light? Was she serious? What white light? Have you forgotten that there's no window in this place, Gianna? I said humorously. She looked at me for a moment, then to my left wrist. The light was coming from that. She pointed at my wolf bracelet, and I looked at it immediately. It was just the same as ever. I looked back at her confusedly before I remembered my plan. Hey, Gianna, do you want to accompany me to go outside tomorrow? I asked her pleasantly. She looked at me disapprovingly. I thought we already talked about that, she said weakly. I quickly tried to explain. No, I'm not talking about the parade. Do you know a place called Forks? It's near Port Angeles in USA. But I guess I went from bad to worse. You're not planning to go there, are you? She questioned, scandalized. Well, I am. But I am taking you with me, I said flatly. No, Laika, please be reasonable, she protested, but I interrupted her because there was nothing that could change my mind. Well, I am still going with her without you, I said. But I admit that it will be a lonely trip without you. She looked panicked and confused at first, and then she sighed. Fine, I'll go with you, she said, irritated but clearly giving in. I hid the triumph from my face as I walked towards my cabinet to prepare my outfit. Would you book our plane tickets? I asked, but Gianna was already shaking her head. Who said we need plane tickets? I looked at her, confused. I guess I forgot to tell you that I also have an ability, she said, embarrassed. Not. My eyes widened in excitement. Oh, Gianna, tell me, I demanded, excitedly. My best friend. Of course, you'd never be part of Marcus's household if you didn't have a unique ability. Well, it's not much. But I can teleport wherever you want, she answered, and she quickly added, nothing much whatsoever. Nothing much, I repeated. I was shocked by her underestimation of her ability. Gianna, that's marvelous. I mean, really great. Exactly what we need, I added, joy in my voice. I hugged her tightly and kissed her cheeks. She looked quite embarrassed but happy at the same time. She was clearly expecting a different reaction from me. Not, what the heck are you thinking? Do you expect me to mock you or something? I demanded. She shrugged. Well, you tease Jane a lot, she admitted. I sighed. Of course, she misinterpreted. Silly girl. I only mocked Jane because I don't like her using her ability to hurt people. Not that I think that she's inferior to me, or whatever, I explained. She looked at me again, and sighed. I'm sorry, Laika. She hugged me, and I hugged her back. Oh. Okay, here's the deal, Gianna began. I'll teleport you to Forks. To the meadow, please, I interrupted. I didn't want to waste any time. I wanted to meet the wolves as early as possible. Okay, to that meadow of yours, but then I'll have to go somewhere with Heidi, so I'll be gone for about 15 minutes. When I'm back, I can teleport you home again. 15 minutes. That's extremely fast. What on earth can I do with 15 minutes? I protested. Well, it is more of a guarantee. You can only have 15 minutes at maximum before Marcus finds out that you went out of the palace, she said seriously. I didn't protest anymore. I had already forgotten about Marcus. Once he found out that I went outside, I'd surely get punished. But this trip would be worth that punishment. I'd take the risk. I finally responded. Well, I guess we don't have a choice, then, I said dejectedly. So, tomorrow, she said excitedly. Tomorrow, I replied happily. I was wearing an outfit I'd spied in a magazine and quickly fallen in love with, a white polo shirt, with green Wimbledon shorts. I had tied my hair in a ponytail, whilst looking at the mirror, and felt more contented than I had in a while. I looked so average right now without the slightest trace of my royalty, except that I still look as beautiful as before. Then, there was a knock on the door. Come in, I said, aloud. Gianna entered the room quickly, looking very nervous. She was wearing her secretarial outfit today rather than her usual everyday clothes. Of course, Heidi would be outraged if she didn't. Well, are you ready? She questioned. Ready, I said, determined. She looked at me first, trying to convey through her eyes that what we were about to do was extremely out of bounds. I only shrugged at her and smirked. She looked definitely annoyed by that, and I giggled. Cut it out, she said, and I immediately stopped. Whatever she wants, I thought. I couldn't afford to make her angry now, she might change her mind. Oh. Okay, I'll touch you, and you have concentrate on the place you want to go, Gianna instructed me. After about 10 seconds, open your eyes. Hey presto, you'll be there. Okay, I replied, nervously. Remember, 15 minutes then I'll bring you home, she reminded me. Yeah, let's get on with this, please. My anxiousness is killing me already. I was impatient. She eyed me again for a moment and then she held my hands. I immediately closed my eyes, and thought about the place that I saw in Dimitri's mind the other day. And then I felt very light, so light as if my soul was detaching itself from my body. I was tempted to open my eyes, but remembered that I should wait for 10 seconds to pass by. I began counting in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then suddenly, I felt my feet hit the grass. I slowly opened my eyes. I was at the edge of a forest, the place 100 times better than in Dimitri's mind. It was not just a meadow, but a beautiful meadow. The place was full of different wild flowers and green grass. The sun's light was so yellow and bright. I've never thought that the sun could be so beautiful. I couldn't believe Marcus kept me from it. This is wonderful, I exclaimed to myself. I quickly let myself bathe in the sunlight, expecting to glint like a diamond just as they had told me. But I didn't. Instead, my skin just glowed and looked stunningly beautiful, much beautiful than before. I felt very cool and calm. The sunlight gave me hope and fresh happiness that I never felt before. I started to run, letting the breeze go past me. I tried to enjoy every second of running. After a moment, I stopped and dropped myself from the flower bed. I laughed and enjoyed the flowers. After a while, I sat up and hugged my knees. I want to stay here forever, I said to myself. I closed my eyes, and hummed a piano song that I had dreamed of before. It sounded like a lullaby, so beautiful a hymn that I couldn't believe I had really made it up. I stayed like that for about a minute, enjoying the peacefulness and calmness. But then I heard footsteps behind me, and I quickly looked around. A glinting man. No, a boy was there looking at me. He was definitely a vampire, and he had golden brown eyes, stunningly handsome. He looked at me as if he just found a long-lost person. Bella, he asked, longingly, and then he slowly walked towards me, arms held out. He hugged me so gently at first and then more tightly as seconds went by. He was shaking very hard. Was he crying? I waited so long for this, he said, cheerfully, I missed you so much. Who the hell was he? I quickly pushed him away, hard. He stumbled a few steps backward and then slumped to the grass. He looked at me, his face surprised. But I was more surprised than him because what I saw rushing from his eyes was blood. He was crying blood. Oh my, I gasped. I knew that vampires didn't possess the fluids to produce tears, but if they were in agony, then the blood they devoured during hunting became the tears in their eyes. I watched, intrigued. I had never seen it firsthand before. He must have really felt bad. I suddenly felt guilty from pushing him too hard. Not, you managed to push me, he whispered. He whimpered at first and then he looked straight into my eyes. And then he gasped. Why, you're a vampire? He asked, eyes wide with horror. Of course, I am a vampire. Who the hell are you? I demanded angrily. I was pissed after being hugged by a complete stranger. No matter how handsome he might be, he was still a stranger. But my attention was drawn to the expression of his face. He looked very hurt by my question. I should have felt angry, but his pitiful, longing eyes made me feel for him. Why, you don't know me? He asked. His voice was suddenly hoarse, and his unnecessary breathing uneven. No, I answered, a little calmer. I couldn't stand people in pain, and his pain was greater than I had ever seen before. He looked to me once more, blood flowing from his eyes. He was shaking again as he continued to sob. I approached him cautiously. Whatever it was that was upsetting him, I felt like I should help. Please, I'm sorry I pushed you too hard. Don't be sad. I couldn't help but cry too. There were no tears of blood, but I still felt his pain. He looked extremely hurt. Even if I didn't know him, nobody deserves this pain. He looked back to me again. Please, Bella, he begged. Come with me, stay with me. Please, Bella, please. No, I pulled away. I'm sorry, but I'm not your Bella. I didn't understand. Maybe he was hallucinating. He fell to his knees, weakened by the amount of blood he had lost. Please, I beg you, I need you, he said, pleadingly. His face was contorted in torment and I felt guilty. I didn't want to hurt him anymore, but I couldn't go with him. No, I am really sorry, I apologized again. I suddenly felt Gianna come from behind me and placed her hand on my shoulder urgently. Not, Laika, Marcus found out and he's really very angry. Let's go, there's no time. She really looked scared, but I tried to protest. I couldn't leave this guy here like this. But her eyes were already closed. Before everything went dark, I saw the vampire boy collapse, burying his face in the grass. When I opened my eyes, we were in the lobby already. I looked behind me to see Gianna trembling. She was always terrified when she had done something that would surely piss off the royals. Gianna, relax, I said, indignantly. I won't let them harm you, I promise you that. I smiled at her, as proof of my promise. I wouldn't let anything happen to my friend. Gianna looked at me helplessly, then she nodded slightly. After seeing that she was okay, I immediately started walking to the royal's chamber, readying myself for the confrontation. The door was already open when we arrived. I immediately entered the room, with Gianna behind me. Arya, it was Marcus. His face was contorted with rage. He looked as if he was ready to commit a murder right then. I looked at him, straight in the eyes, face blank. I'd show him who the boss of my life is. Yes, I asked, impatiently, one eyebrow raised and my arms folded across my chest. You, he said, angrily, how dare you go outside to the upper grounds? How many times do I have to tell you that you are not allowed up? This time, the rage that I had hid for a long time suddenly erupted from me. Why, Marcus, why? Why am I not allowed to go up while everybody can? I demanded, furiously. Because I simply said so. Is that not enough reason for you? Marcus returned, questioningly. That's the lamest reason that I have ever heard, I spat, menacingly without taking my eyes off of him. He glared at me with fierce eyes for a moment, before he shifted his gaze to Gianna. I felt her tremble behind me. You, he said, I kept you because I thought your ability would help to keep peace and order in the household. I never imagined that it will betray the sacred rules that I imposed here. My lord. Gianna started to speak, but I stepped directly in front of her, meeting Marcus's intense stare. Leave her out of this, it's all my doing, I argued. If it wasn't for her ability then he started, but of course I wouldn't give him a chance. Not, I am also the law here, Marcus. It's just as normal for her to obey me, isn't it? Marcus looked at me in disbelief. This was the first time that I'd ever argued back to him. And I had no intentions whatsoever to stop acting like this until I had my way. Then I guess I shall take your title then, he replied. I stared at him for a second, and then I smirked. Let me see you try, I warned him. The only reason I hadn't run away from this place yet was that I am bound by the laws of the royals. Marcus eyed me as if ready to cause me pain. My expression, however, was bored. Go back to your room now, he ordered. Only if you will give me your word that I'll be allowed to go up again, I returned. Never, he cried at once. Then I guess you leave me no choice. I shrugged. I grabbed Gianna's hand and prepared to mimic her powers to go back to Forks, when suddenly, Marcus stood up. Wait, he said quickly. I smirked. Yes, he sighed. Once every 7 days, he said. 3, I bartered. 2, then, he surrendered. I grinned. Deal. I turned my back on him, grabbing Gianna by her hand and stormed away, smiling at my triumph. But then suddenly, the vampire boy's face flashed in front of my eyes, and as if it was a kind of a trigger, I felt a horrible, agonizing sense of longing. Who is he? What is with him that makes me feel like this? Not. When we were already outside of Marcus's chamber, I faced Gianna. Do you have a list of names of vampires or covens, maybe? I asked. Why yes, as long as they were not newborns, why? She wondered. I'll just have to do some research, I quickly said. I guess I'll just have to find out who that boy is. Marcus. Oh, my chamber. Nothing has changed here since I built it 2,000 years ago. The marble high chair that I was sitting in right now was as delicate as ever. I let myself slump in it as I savored the blood I enjoyed just a few minutes ago. The feeling was refreshing, renewing my strength like it always did. How I would miss this once I acquire the immortality that doesn't depend on blood. Whilst I was pondering, Keys suddenly entered the room. He was looking at me speculatively. I straightened up to greet him. "What's with the look?" I questioned. He was always like that whenever something was troubling him. "It's about that girl," he said indignantly. "She's really different, Marcus. She's not like us. She's much stronger and more powerful than any of us, even if the three of us combined. Can you see what she can do? She can do every ability that she's aware of." "I know," I said confidently. "I know exactly what she is." Keys gave me an inquisitive look, and I suddenly laughed. "Do you remember the Valdrieri?" I asked him, teasingly. He looked confused at first and then suddenly shocked. "You mean she's a," he uttered. He might have forgotten the story that I shared to him 1,000 years ago, I thought. Well, to share it again would do no harm. "You see," I sighed, preparing for a long story, "the Valdrieri is the common ancestor of two kinds of race. One is us, and the other is the spirit warriors. When we and those warriors existed, the Valdrieri suddenly disappeared due to unknown reasons. I can't believe they disappeared, seeing that they are indestructible, with no means whatsoever. We are the lower class compared to them." Keys laughed at this. "Lower C class? Are you serious, Marcus? They are our ancestors. Certainly we are superior to them. Don't tell me you believe that rubbish humans cite as biology, Keys," I said stiffly. I waited for his response, but when I got nothing I continued. "You've never seen the Valdrieri." "I have, once. And they are extremely powerful. They can mimic powers, shape-shift, and their powerful instinct is incomparable." Not. At this new information, Keys quickly glanced back at me. "Shape-shifters, just like those stupid mutts in Quileute?" he asked. "Yes, my friend," I confirmed. "So to put it simply, that girl is both vampire and a spirit warrior. I don't think she's a wolf, though we will correct that if she ever shape-shifts. But her gift is the most important thing here. Do you ever consider having her strength?" I grimaced. "Certainly a dream come true, but impossible to achieve," he answered back. "Who said it is impossible?" I glared at him. He glared back, wide eyes emanant from the darkness. "Valdrieri is indestructible, yes," I continued. "But everything has a weakness, no matter how powerful you are. In the case of the Valdrieri, during the full moon, they become vulnerable, weak. So to gain their powers, all I have to do is kill her while in this situation and eat her rotten heart." "Her heart, Marcus, surely, her heart was dissolved already," he said, clearly scandalized. "Not for the Valdrieri," I said impatiently. "And mind you, full moon is just days away, cause, only days away." I was satisfied with the mood I created there in that room. But one thing was for sure right now, and that was the end of the Bella girl. I was sitting in the chair behind Gianna's desk while scrolling down the never-ending pages of vampire profiles in her computer. After 14 hours straight of looking, I impatiently tapped the keyboard really hard and leaned in the chair. "Sheesh, I thought you said vampires were just hundreds, but I am into my 1200s already." I complained to Gianna. Gianna was sitting in the desk. She still looked a little nervous, but I guess she already regained a little of her usual composure as I look at her now. "Oh, it's because you haven't filtered out those names that have been killed already," she said in a matter-of-fact tone. She went over me and quickly clicked some buttons flawlessly, and then she pressed enter. The once long list of profiles now reduced to a 500s. "Gosh, why didn't you do that earlier?" I exclaimed. She just grinned at me and went back to her place in the desk. I eyed her for a few moments, sighed and went back to work. I didn't have to look longer because the face of that vampire boy in the meadow is already in front of me. Gianna's eyes widened in excitement as she saw the picture and she hurried towards beside me. "Oh my gosh, you know this guy?" she asked giggly. No, but he thought he knew me," I said blankly. "That Edward Cullen is so handsome. Can't you see, he's part of that Cullen coven the kings usually talked about. I heard that their leader used to be one of the royals, see." She closed the profile of that vampire boy that, as Gianna said, named Edward, and opened a profile of a handsome young man with blonde hair. I quickly looked in the name and read, "Carlisle Cullen," I whispered. "Yes, Carlisle Cullen. Heidi used to have a thing on that guy, I heard. I can't blame her. The gorgeous looks of that man is extremely, Laika, what's wrong? I don't get it. My heart does not beat anymore, but if it could, it might have been bursting already. I can't remember anything about him, but I knew that I know this person. My feelings tell me so. My mind says nothing about the guy yet the rest of my body screams as if calling him. Carlisle Cullen. Carlisle Cullen. I kept repeating the name in my head. I closed my eyes and continued to speak repeating the name of that Carlisle Cullen. And everything went dark. I opened my eyes. I was back in that very dark place, but this time I was not alone. The girl from before is now standing staring at me. I stared back. It's the same girl who was crying in that dream I had. She looked just the same as me, but her clothes are very different. She wears tight jeans and an old sweater. She took a step toward me, but I quickly leaned back. Who are you? Why do you look just like me? I asked her, trembling. She just looked at me at first and then finally she spoke. Laika, give me my body back, she said. I looked at her intently. What do you mean? I asked her. Please, I know this sounds crazy, but you're not supposed to be in there. You're ruining my life. Go back to Edward and please make sure he's alright, okay? She was crying now. I looked at her really hard now. What the girl was saying is completely rubbish to me. Get out from my body. Is she crazy? How can I do that? Is it even possible? Wait, I think you're making a mistake here, I tried to explain to her, but she interrupted me. There is no time, she wailed. Why, you can't stay here any longer. They will kill you in a matter of time. They will kill us. My spine shivered as I heard her say this. There is only one group of people whom I can think that fits her, they. My father. It makes sense. But where should I go? I quickly asked, feeling a bit panicky now. Whoever she might be, she doesn't look like she's joking at all. The girl repressed a sob first before answering. In Forks. Laika. I opened my eyes to see Gianna in front of me. I think she was shaking my shoulders because I can feel her hands holding them and it aches a little. What happened? You passed out, girl. And your wolf bling just started to glow maniacally. I glanced at my bracelet quickly and then remembered everything what that girl had said. Forks. Gianna, we have to get out of here. I told her hysterically. What are you talking about? She questioned. There's no time. I glanced back again in my bracelet. I really need to find those wolves, Gianna. They are my only last hope. And before she could react again, I grabbed her hand and closed my eyes ready for our journey. Where are we? Gianna asked me. We didn't arrive at the meadow. Surely, I am still not that good enough mimicking Gianna's teleport ability. Instead, we arrive in front of a wooden cabin. My mind is still racing, so I couldn't process where we actually landed. What I only know is that we are in front of that cabin and there is a beach nearby because I can hear waves not far from where we are. Look, Gianna finally said. I quickly looked to her as she picked up a piece of paper in the ground. It looked like it was a flyer. Welcome to La Push, Gianna read from the paper. La Push. What do you mean, La Push? I demanded to her. We don't have time to be lost now. She eyed me incredulously. It means, she said, waving the paper in her hand, that we are in La Push, right? Oh, she stopped and her eye went past me. I quickly turned around to see what she was looking behind me. A guy, no, a man was standing there. He's wearing nothing but a torn white pants. He smelled awfully like a dog. In his right hand was a helmet for a motorbike. As I look at him in the eye, his eyes suddenly widen in shock. As if he saw a ghost or someone who's been missing for ages. Bella, he exclaimed, and before I could react, he was already hugging me. I was so overwhelmed by the tightness of his hug and the doggy smell that was coming from him that I can't do anything about it. Let go of me, I demanded through tight, short breath. But I didn't have to say twice as he quickly released me from his bear wrestling hug. Geez, Bella, you were so cold. But his look suddenly changed. I eyed him angrily, but I was drowned by the agony from his eyes. Why, you're a vampire already? He asked in a very harsh tone. I eyed him curiously. He knew about vampires, so that means he's no ordinary human. If he knows something about vampires, then... Wait, I should clear things up for him first before I could ask him my questions. So I took a deep breath as if I needed it and speak very clearly. Look, mister, I said, I am not this Bella, okay? Why do many of you keep telling me that I was that girl? What are you talking about, Bells? He asked, suddenly taken aback from what I said. My name is Leica and me and my friend here, I suddenly grabbed Gianna so that she'll stand next to me, is supposed to be going in this certain meadow in Forks. But for some reason we ended up being here. I finished eliminating the idea of us teleporting here because I don't know if he's into that kind of information. He eyed me questioningly as if I went insane or some sort of mental thingy. He looked at me from head to toe and his eyes rested from my left hand. If you're not Bella, then why are you wearing that wolf bracelet? He pointed at the wolf charm in my left hand. I am the one who gave that to you, you know. It's my eyes this time that widen in shock. You gave me this charm. I said a little louder and clearly than normal. He stood there for a minute, and then suddenly sighed. Bella, he told me, you really can't remember anything. He's suddenly very serious. And no, I told him. It must be the effect of the process of you turning into a bloodsucker. That Edward must have done something bad to mess up your brain, he said. Excuse me, I said, offended. My brain isn't messed up, you smelly old beast. And I don't know this Edward you're talking about, but I thought of that vampire boy in the meadow. Wait, I said you knew this Edward. What's his name again, Gianna? Edward, Gianna said to the guy, Edward Cullen. Why, you can't even remember Edward? The guy said, aghast. Jacob. I looked around where the new voice came from. It was in the cabin. An old man in a wheelchair was suddenly emerging from the door. He looked old, but his eyes was calm and clear. I was so into his calming eyes when he suddenly spoke to me. So you're finally here, Leica, he said. I was taken aback. The man was expecting me. He didn't even call me Bella or whoever that girl was. Are you insane, Dad? The guy, I guess his name was Jacob, exclaimed. Even you. She's not Bella, Jacob, the old man insisted to him before looking back at me. So, wanna have a good chat with me inside? The old man offered, gesturing to the cabin, and without further ado he went back inside. I hesitated. I looked at Gianna, who nodded at me encouragingly, and we both entered the house. How do you know me? This is the first thing I asked to the old man when we all settled inside the cabin. My impatience, curiosity and wonder are now swelling in my mind that it makes everything so hazy. The old man just looked at me with those deep calm eyes before he answered. It's simple. That Makata of yours told me, he said so simply. I looked at him in amazement and then to the bracelet in my left wrist and back to the old man. This thing can talk. This time, Jacob interrupted. My Makata told you, that thing can talk, Jacob said, a little bewildered and as if he read those exact words in my mind. It's not my fault that you are not concentrating on your meditations, Jacob, Billy snapped. I told you to practice communicating with your wolf charm, but seeing that you don't know what I am talking about, then I guess you didn't even try. Jacob only scowled. I guess what Billy said was true. And then Billy continued. You are not Bella, he said again, but you are Bella in a way. It's really complicated to explain, child. But to put it simply, you are the manifestation of Bella's strength. And you were created in that part of Bella's personality, Leica. I stared at him as these words slowly sink in me. I have never been so confused in my entire existence. What does he mean by manifestation? And what does he mean by created? Created. I said slowly, preparing myself to hear the unexpected. You mean that I am not real? Billy just stared at me in silence. Created. This word echoed to me 100 times. It felt to me like I was just artificial, no soul, just pure personality. We are all in silence for a while. Gianna was just staring at us as if she's absorbing everything that the conversation took. Jacob looked as if he wanted to join the conversation, but he could find the timing as he also doesn't know what we are actually talking about. Because I have a lot of questions in my mind, I broke the silence first. How do you know that my preferred name is Leica? Actually, I just made up that name. My father really named me Arya. I asked while looking at him, doubtful. If he's a psychic or something, he should know my real name, not my made-up name as everyone knew me. But I was surprised to see that he was laughing humorlessly. Does that really matter now, Leica? Well, Honestly, yes, a name is important because that will be a person's core basis for his or her existence. But for you, does it really matter if your name is Laika or Arya? This time, I felt anger towards the man. What does that mean? What are you trying to say? That I am not real? I protested, a little louder than necessary. Well, look at me, Grandpa. I am here, I can talk to you, I can hear you, I can feel myself, I can feel pain, I can be worried like I am now. I am real in all sense. Yes, you can feel, he confirmed as I finished my retort. But what about that body of yours? The real being who owns that body is now trapped in that wolf charm. The real Isabella Swan is right there hanging in her own left wrist. This time, I was shocked to hear this. That girl's soul is in this thing, I said as I dangled the wolf charm above my head. Have you ever seen a girl that looked like you? The old man challenged. I hesitated. Yes, in my dream. In my dreams, yes, I finally said. Can you describe her to me? The old man asked. My brows creased. I don't know how to escape his interrogations, because I wanted to know the truth as well. She's always crying. Exactly. The old man straightened from his wheelchair. Can't you see? Because all of her strength is within you now. Her strength is the core of your existence. It was taken for you to be created. To be created by who? Who made me? I said before I couldn't help myself. That I don't know yet, the old man said. Laika, my child, he continued. I know I am being rude by saying all these things to you directly, but this is for the better. You should know that that body of yours is not yours. You are not supposed to exist. Yes, I know that it hurts to hear this, but that is the truth. I couldn't help but cry this time. Tears fell down in my eyes. The only vampire who can sleep, the only vampire who can even cry, and now I am the vampire who are not who I think I am. How pathetic my life really is. Gianna hugged me for comfort. I can see that she's deeply saddened by what she heard as well. If she can cry like I could, she might be already. We'll sort things out, don't worry, she said. The old man talked again. For the meantime, he said, you two can stay here. We have to keep Bella safe. Also, we'll inform the Cullens about this. No, I quickly said. Laika, they have the right to know, the old man reasoned. They are Bella's family now, even though how much I am against it. Not this time, I said. If I am really not supposed to be in this body, then that vampire boy seeing me again in this state will just make him in a worse condition. I see your point, the old man surrendered. I looked in the window behind me. The sun was already setting. What am I going to do now? What is the right thing to do? Edward Cullen. It's her. Carlisle. It's her. Carlisle, Esme, Jasper and Emmett are in the living room with me. I can't help but feel helpless. No one believes me. Edward, if that was indeed Bella, then Alice should have had a vision or something, Jasper said reasonably. She's been on the lookout on her since she disappeared. I know what I saw, I said, shaking at first and then calm again as Jasper's ability triumphed on my resistance. That's Bella, I know her scent very well. No one said anything, but Carlisle broke the silence after a minute. Are you sure that it wasn't your hallucination? Vampires' hallucination can be very real sometimes because I know what I saw, I repeated for the nth time. Carlisle didn't budge anymore, and no one aside from him did as well. They all stared at me as if they are trying to think of a way to reason out to a child. And I tried to keep their thoughts away from me because all I hear is pity, sorrow and desperation. I know they care for me that much, but I am not losing my mind in its literal sense. At that moment, Alice entered the room. Her face glowed in urgency. I tried to read her thoughts but didn't need to as she said the words that sparkle a sense of hope in my chest. I saw her, she said, looking at us intently. I reflexively stood from where I am sitting, but she ushered me to sit back down as she said the things I already saw in her mind to the others. Well, not personally but in Billy Black's point of view, she continued, but Esme interrupted. I thought that Billy's a wolf. How did you manage? He's not a wolf, Esme. He never transformed into a wolf, and he happened to drop by at Charlie's house this afternoon, away from those wolves, and I saw Bella in a vision with Jacob. With Jacob? What do you mean with that dog? Emmett said in confusion. I don't know, Alice exclaimed, and she quickly sat in the nearest cushion in reach. I don't understand, but she seems like she's not Bella, but at the same time it's her, she said, and she hid her face in Jasper's back, probably due to mental exhaustion. I made up my mind. I am going down to La Push. I was about to run when Alice quickly blocked the door. Oh, don't, Edward, she said warningly. Move aside, Alice, I snarled at her. But Jasper is on her side at once. Listen, brother, Jasper started. If you cross the treaty line, then you're just making everything a lot worse. It's already good to know that Bella's in La Push. She's safe and she's already a vampire, I concluded for him. Everybody fell silent at once. Carlyle looked shocked. Esme gasped. Everybody was startled at this new piece of information. She's a... Yes, I said again, and a vampire in La Push is like a lamb wandering in the lair full of lions, Alice. Now, move aside. Alice didn't seem to hear me at first, but she slowly gave in. I immediately ran at my full speed with nothing in mind but to take my love to the place where she truly belongs. So, these are motorcycles, I said while admiring the bikes in front of me. They were cool. Yes, Bella and I used to ride these before, Jacob said, standing in the front of the garage. He, then, took a paper bag with 2 cola cans in it. He tossed one of it to me. I know it's absurd giving you that, 'cause you don't eat or drink, Jacob snickered to himself while opening his can and start drinking all of the contents in almost on gulp. Says who? I said, opening my warm cola can and started to sip the cola in it. I felt the fizzing bubbles of the carbonated soda in my throat. It felt nice. What the? How can you do that? Jacob exclaimed to me. I thought vampires couldn't drink anything except, well, don't wanna mention it. I dunno about that, but I certainly don't drink, you know what I said, and then cringed at the thought of it. I don't wanna even think about it. We looked at each other for a moment and then laughed. You really are something, Jacob finally said, after recovering. I know, I said teasingly. I am much cooler than you. Really? Huh, what about another bet? Jacob said, looking challenging. I must admit, he looked a bit sexy when he narrowed his eyes like that. My chest, where my heart was supposed to be, fluttered as I looked at his adorable eyes. Oh come on, Jacob, I said, guffawing, you never won in any of your bets to me. Motorbike, just on the cliff, he said, pointing to the cliff, first to get their wins. On you mark. Get set. Wait, you cheater, I shouted, but he's already starting his motorbike. I immediately jumped in the other one, and because of my quick agility and clear eyesight, I managed to mimic him on how to start the engine, and in a flash, we are both speeding away on the road. Goodness, this is fun, I shouted, enjoying the breeze of the fast motorbike. Surely, for me this is still kinda slow, but, seeing Jacob enjoying it, I can't help but feel thrilled as well. Remembering that this is a challenge, I twirled the handle to the highest possible speed, and off I go. You'll never win this, I shouted at my back to Jacob. But as I looked back again in front, there was already a guy in the distance, arms spread as he tried to signal me to stop. I immediately pulled the brake, and managed to stop just in time to see the face of the guy. It was the vampire boy before. You again, I said, while I took myself off from the bike. I can hear Jacob brake as I did this. Bella, I have come to get you back, the boy said. Let's listen. Ah, Edward Wright, I said, remembering his name from Gianna's files. I told you before that I am not your Bella, but I know where she is. Don't worry, my friends are already sorting it out and she'll be back here in no time. What are you talking about? He asked me, looking confused. He started looking at Jacob and tilted his head, as if he was scanning Jacob, head of something. Reflexively, I immediately engulfed Jacob with my shielding ability. Edward looked back at me, shocked, and I looked at him too. You shielded him, he said, odd. But before I could respond back, the wolf charm in my wrist shook rapidly. Ah! Ouch, arg. The charm felt like exploding in my wrist. The two guys froze for a moment, but Jacob was the one who held me first. He reached for the Makata, but took his hands away the moment he touched the figurine. It's Bella. Bella's trying to break away. Jacob shouted, Bella, hang in there. And then he did something to the bracelet. I felt that I am going away from my body. I felt someone entering in it, coming from the object in my wrist. Bella's back, I managed to say to Jacob before everything went dark. Edward, I managed to yell between my hyperventilating. Bella, love, is that really you? said Edward while I was in his arms. But there is no time to waste. I have to tell him something important before the Makata takes me away again. Wait, Edward, listen to me. Valdredri, I told him. I can feel my consciousness sipping in the Makata again. Valdredri, Bella, hang on. No, Edward, Jake. Yes, Bells, what is it? Ask Billy anything about Valdredri. That's the only way. But too late, my consciousness gave up and the last thing I saw was the two men in my life lunging for my aid.